Welcome to Inspire Me Forward. My name is Linda J. Watson, and I am the founder and host of this beautiful series of conversations. This is a space where guests from all walks of life and every corner of the world share their stories. We talk about life, love, and everything in between. And now we are on season 7. Before we dive in, I would like to share that the topics discussed in this season may be sensitive in nature and triggering to some. Please do take care of yourself and seek support as and if needed. So, the title of this group of episodes is Positive Foundations for When Life Throws a Time Shift. There are times in our lives when our relationship with time changes. Sometimes it's a slow burn, sometimes a U-turn. Your perspective of time might evolve into a space where you value it more. Perhaps it speeds up, or maybe it slows down. However you are affected, life does throw time shifts. And in those moments, we are called to look for positive foundations, resources that help us hold our bearings and tend to our resiliency, helping us stay grounded and not float away altogether. This season, we will speak with folks who have experienced those time shifts and stayed upright through the dynamic force, the change, and the landing. We will discuss what kept them standing. What did they hold on to so they could settle in to that new time perspective with a gentle heart and feet firmly on the ground? Welcome to season 7 of Inspire Me Forward. Let's talk time shifts. But before we introduce our guest today, let's take a moment of quiet to land in this space. Let our day go for just a while and be present for the wisdom that is offered in this episode. All right. Well, welcome to the present moment and welcome to episode 52 of Inspire Me Forward. And I am so excited to speak with our guest today who has had a full life, and there's so many ways, avenues we could take and probably speak for hours. So I will let Maria introduce herself to start.
Okay, my name is Maria Leonard Olsen. I live in Washington, D.C. I'm an attorney, author, journalist, TEDx speaker, mentor to women in recovery, and you can learn more about me at marialeonardolsen.com.
Awesome. Thank you, Maria. And this whole season has been about time and how it shifts in our lives, but also having those foundations for when it does have a big shift or when it has a slow shift. And how do we stay grounded in those moments? And I think any of our guests so far have given us these ways that we can sort of stay in ourselves, stay in the present moment when time does throw us a bit of a curveball or a bit of a shift and say, here you go, we're going a U-turn right now. So um, I'd love to start with just giving you the space and the floor to share your story, and then we can build off that from there.
All
So the
right,
floor is
great.
yours.
Yes, well, the year I turned 50, I got divorced, sober from alcoholism, became an empty nester, and was living alone for the first time in my life. I felt completely rudderless. I had taken 15 years off from practicing law to be an at-home mom, which I know I was very lucky to be able to do that. And I had to basically start over. So I went back to practicing law And I was turning 50, and people were asking me, "What are you going to do for your 50th birthday?" Because I love birthdays, and I had had a really big 40th birthday party. So I decided to try 50 new things in my 50th year to determine how I wanted to live the next chapter. And these things ranged from spiritual endeavors to adventure travel, physical challenges, social activities, lifestyle changes, and each one taught me something about myself, about my comfort zone, stretching my comfort zone, and about who I wanted to be in this next chapter. And I didn't intend to write a book about it or do a TED talk about it, but those things came to pass. And my journey, which is in my book, 50 After 50, Reframing the Next Chapter of Your Life. Can't really see it there, but anyway, it became an Amazon bestseller and really struck a nerve with people because 50 is generally a common reckoning point in one's life. And people who are going through different changes or felt stuck were really happy to have this sort of guidebook about how you might approach this milestone birthday, or generally, if you feel stuck in your life and you want to make a change, a way to go about that.
Mhm.
And also in the back of the book, I included a few other people's lists of 50 things they wanted to do. And it took me on this journey of self-discovery that really changed me fundamentally about, well, the recovery journey from alcoholism. I am in a 12-step program. That is a fundamental change in one's life if you choose to live by the 12 steps, which, as a huge generalization, mean believing in something bigger than yourself,
Mhm.
taking inventory about your own character defects and striving to alleviate them or abandon them, and paying it forward. So I changed my life, had to change basically all the people, places, and things that were in my life when I was sick and replace them with people who supported me and places that were not tempting and activities that didn't involve alcohol. So my life changed in so many ways in that pivotal year. And now I'm 62, and I have written the book 60 After 60, Finding Serenity in Your 60s. It won't be published, though. I'm not even going to shop it for a couple of years because I have another book coming out about DNA test discoveries. Having found out at age 53 that I'm the product of a one night stand my mother had, and that the dad who raised me is not my biological father.
Mhm.
So that was a whole other big life shift
Mhm.
to meet my biological father and family members, to discover that although I thought for my whole life that I was half Filipino and half Irish English, from my dad's side, and completely Catholic, went to Catholic school through Jesuit college, was a Eucharistic minister, very active in the church, and only to find out that I'm half Ashkenazi Jew, biologically or genetically speaking. And I didn't even know very many Jewish people. So that was a huge shift in my life as well. I grew to love my biological father and biological family, and am striving to learn as much as I can about Judaism. But because Judaism is as much a culture as a religion, it's unlikely that I will ever truly feel Jewish. And also, many people consider that only to be able to be passed down through your matrilineal line. So I have struggled with an identity crisis in the midst
Mhm.
of that discovery. But like in my 50th year, in my book, 50 After 50, Reframing the Next Chapter of Your Life, I decided to turn that into a learning and a teaching experience. So as a lawyer, I wrote a book and did another TEDx talk about the risks of taking DNA tests and how discovering misattributed paternity isn't all that rare. It's perhaps not
Yeah.
talked about all that much, but it's definitely out there. estimates from 3 to even 30% in some countries.
Wow.
So it's hard to measure really what that the true number is, but I met so many people in the same situation that I know it's not that rare. But what is rare is to find someone who's half Filipino and half Ashkenazi Jew. The Philippines is the most Catholic country on the planet. There
Mm,
are fewer than 100 Jews in the Philippines, in the whole country.
mm,
So I've had these great shifts in my life, and I had to find a way to ground myself, especially as a person in long-term recovery. And the most powerful ways that I do that are, well, one, I include a centering practice in my life every day, whether that is meditation, deep breathing, journaling, or a combination of all those things. And for
mm,
me, meditation can be a simple, mindful walk around the block.
sure.
Meditation for me doesn't necessarily have to be really time consuming. In fact, one deep cleansing breath can center me now.
Yeah.
So that is one huge change in my 50th year is employing centering activities and tools. And another was surrounding myself with people who encourage and support me and inspire me, and limiting my time with people who I consider to be energy vampires, who just take, 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 and don't really give anything in return. And even though some of those people are in my family and I have to see them occasionally, I can limit the amount of time I spend and the amount of energy I invest in those relationships.
Hmm. Hmm.
So the other thing was learning how to drop the rock of caring so much about what other people think.
Hmm.
I just don't anymore. And while it does flare up from time to time, I realize that I don't have the power to control what other people think. If I live a life true to my values, that's enough. And I can feel good about myself if I'm doing that.
Yeah.
So those were probably the three overarching changes in my life at 50. And there are some funny things I tried in my 50th year that I'm never going to do again. There are adventurous things that I'm probably not going to do again, although adventure is still a big part of my life. But I really implore your listeners and viewers that if there's something you don't like about your life, then change something. Not doing anything is a choice, but it's
Hmm.
not usually a good one.
Hmm.
I also believe in my 50th year that actuarially speaking, I'm in the third of my life. And so I'm very intentional about how I spend every day.
Yeah.
And if someone asks me to do something, although I'm a recovering people pleaser also, I ask myself, is this something that I really want to do, or am I just trying to please somebody else? Is this something bringing me closer to the person I strive to be or my goals, or not? And if the answer is no, I more often than not say, I have another commitment or obligation. And I don't have to tell the other person what that obligation is. It could be simply to restoring my energy. It doesn't
Mm.
matter. I don't, nobody else is the boss of me but me.
True.
So that
True.
was a huge change in my life.
Yeah.
And I'm so mindful of the march of time now. Like it seems to be going so quickly now.
Hmm.
And none of us knows how much time we have left. Time is the one commodity we can't buy. It's of uncertain duration. We never know if we're going to get a bad diagnosis or just die in an accident. Nobody knows.
Exactly.
So I live my life very differently post 50 than I did before.
Hmm. Interesting you say that march of time. And you hear many people in retirement go, what am I going to do with myself? What am I going to do with my time now? Yet there's also this other aspect of it being time moves fast. It feels like it moves faster the
Yeah.
older we get.
Hmm.
So it's playing with this and finding your space in that. Yeah, and I was as I was reading your biography and all that you've done, I sort of felt myself in there because people say to me often, "You have such a busy life," but I always say, "I don't have a busy life. I have a full life,"
Yes.
and it's that way we look at it,
Yeah.
and it's how we ourselves view that time passage and that life that we have.
I agree. And I think that we should all respect our own individual bandwidths too, because people do make fun of me because I do a lot. I accomplish a great deal in every 24 hours. And sometimes it's hard for me to stay present because I have racing thoughts and I'm always thinking of all the things I want to do before my time is up.
Exactly.
And that is a challenge also. So I have to cut myself a break. I have to be intentional about rest also
Hmm.
and getting enough sleep and choosing who I want to spend my time with and what I want to spend my time on.
Mm.
So the definition of happiness for me is no longer going to the best events and the best parties and having the most friends. It is for me contentment,
I
feeling
love
good
that word.
about who I am and
Yes.
how I've spent my day and
Yeah.
what I've done to some extent, if it's bringing me closer to who I want to be. Because for me, it's a lifelong thing. I'm never going to stop learning and
Mm.
growing or trying to.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I love that word contentment. That's my, you know, I was stuck in this place of, oh, I had to feel joy all the time. And it's like, I don't have to feel, I can feel content and that can be relaxed, it can be joyful, but it's to me, it's this peace of heart
Yes,
and not a peace, P-I-E-C, but P-E-A-C is this peace in our hearts
agree.
and whatever that might be. I sense in you were talking about your centering practice and your dropping the rock, I love that, is this need to get good at setting boundaries.
Oh, yes. I'm in another 12-step program called Al-Anon, which is all about relationships and boundaries. And I was not good at setting boundaries before getting sober, not at all. And now I'm pretty good at it.
Yeah,
I'd say it's still hard with um, one of my adult children, but because there is some enmeshment there, but I have gotten really good at it with everybody else.
the closest.
Yeah.
Hardest to
Yeah.
set them with those that are closest to us.
Yeah.
How would you define, I just love asking because like everybody defines it differently. How would you define a boundary? How do you present that?
Well, for me, a boundary is setting a limit on what you will or will not accept. It's putting some rules in place if necessary when you're experiencing pain or hurt by the actions of another person, whether they mean to do it or not. It's acting with love and kindness, but also with a firmness to protect one's own space and heart.
I love that. Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful way of defining it. Everybody says it a little differently, so it's nice to have lots of them. So these foundations that you came to, how did they come? Did you have some of those already in you? Or did you find them from teachings, from books? Um, your centering practices, or are you coming up with new ones all the time?
Oh, I am always searching. And so I add to my repertoire frequently. In my 60s, somatic healing, for instance, has become pivotal in my life for even deeper healing. And it was serendipitous that a somatic healer from Canada, from the West Coast, her team asked if she could be a guest on my podcast. My podcast is called Becoming Your Best Version. And the first time I met her, instantly I was blown away by her serenity and I wanted it. And so I learned more about her through the podcast and started with individual sessions with her. And then I went on some of her retreats, and it just blew my mind and helped me heal some broken parts of me or hurt parts of me that I didn't even realize I still had. Her name is Kelly Carpenter, and her website is The Other Side of Average, and she has changed my life. But before that, I mean, I've always been a searcher. So on the notes function in my phone, I keep lists of things that I hear about, whether reading about them, hearing about them. I listen to a lot of podcasts, including yours, which is how I found you,
Mhm.
and TEDx talks, TED
Yeah,
Talks about because I always want to learn more.
of course. Yeah.
And so when I hear something by word of mouth or media, I write it in the notes function, and slowly but surely I get to investigate all of the things on my list and decide if it's for me or not. Like there are some things that I have rejected, like ayahuasca.
Yeah.
Lots of people have breakthroughs from that, but as a person in recovery, that could be a slippery slope for me, so I'm
Yeah.
not going to do that. Or silent retreats. That is something I probably will try
Mhm.
someday, but I
Yeah.
haven't been ready for that. I'm a pretty talkative person, and I don't know. I think it will be good for me, but I just haven't been ready yet.
Sure.
But I will do that.
For
And
sure.
I've heard that that has changed some people's lives for the
Absolutely.
better. So,
Absolutely. And you can do the day or you can do the 14-day
yeah, yeah.
or the 5 minute to start, maybe.
Yeah, and I mentioned earlier my podcast called Becoming Your Best Version. The last question of every podcast, and I've been doing it for 6 years now,
Mhm.
is what do you do to become your best version? And I've never gotten the same answer.
Oh
So
gosh.
I collect
Ah,
all this great wisdom and I publish a book with the answer to that question every other year, which is an
oh,
ebook
nice.
on Amazon. But it's kind of a selfish endeavor because I'm plumbing the minds of inspiring women and collecting their best tips for becoming your best version.
Wow. Is there one that's or two that have sort of that really sit strong in you?
Hmm. Gosh. Oh, that's a great question. I I don't know. I can't think of one off the top of my head,
Mhm.
but that is such a great question. I think the general themes are to make the world a better place because you're here, like doing esteemable acts to raise one's self-esteem, protecting one's energy in various ways,
Mhm.
um, striving to keep learning and giving back
Yeah.
to others. Um,
Nice.
I recently interviewed a woman who is a quadriplegic, and she has not allowed that to limit her impact in the world. She started a nonprofit to feed the homeless, and it has like 500 volunteers now. She is making real inroads into solving food insecurity in various communities. And she does that with so many physical limitations. She just really blew me away with how she didn't allow her physical limitations to stop her desire to make the world a better place.
Yeah. That's interesting as you're saying that, my mind goes to the word resiliency. And I wonder your thoughts in interviewing all these folks that are obviously resilient and strong and um, in the moment yet forward, that have that forward momentum. There are people that have been through often the same thing, the same tribulations, the same trials, yet some will come out not without resilience. Some will come out of it with making documentaries and doing all. Where do you think that split lies?
Yeah,
How did you become so resilient?
that's a great question. I mean, I had a period of debilitating depression
Mhm.
where I barely spoke for almost a year. after my father died and told me all these horrible things about my mother that I didn't want to know. And it took so many things for me. And I know that I am a driven person and also goal oriented, but it was a long slog to get out of that depression. And for me, it took talk therapy, medication for depression and anxiety, exercise, um, listening to other people, journaling, being kind to myself. It took a lot, a multi-pronged approach. No one thing helped me out of that one. And I haven't been on anti-anxiety, anti-depression medication for 5 years. And it was just a step by step layered approach, and I didn't give up. And I don't know what makes us temperamentally people who don't give up, because I definitely have acquaintances in whom I observe learned helplessness, who have been enabled so much by their friends and family members that they just give up. So I don't know if it's luck and also drive and just our character that we're born with, our genetic makeup. I
Mhm.
mean, in writing the book about DNA test risks, I spoke to psychologists who maintain that in the nature versus nurture debate, that nature plays a much bigger role than we once thought. That parents were taught, at least when I was a child and as an adult, that we can mold our kids. But the fact is, there are so many characteristics and traits that they're born with.
Yeah.
And so, really, what our job as parents, is to identify our children's strengths and give them as many opportunities to build those strengths,
Mhm.
not to try to make them good math students if they just simply don't have that aptitude.
Yeah.
So I was somewhat successful in doing that.
Mhm.
And that was just lucky, because I read so many parenting books that said the opposite, that, you should do this, this, and this.
Yeah.
And I could see, for instance, that my son was artistic and wanted to be an actor, and I gave him lots of opportunities to do that. And now he is, and he's successful.
Nice. Good job.
But
Yeah.
yeah, the original question you asked is very difficult to answer,
Mhm.
because it's hard to know. It could be resources, circumstances can play a part in that. Like if I didn't have any resources at all and didn't have the knowledge to even go online to get therapy,
Mhm.
which can be more affordable than in-person therapy, who knows? I could just be stuck in that depression for
Yeah.
years and years.
Yeah. 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 Exactly.
So it's hard to know.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. That I was going to bring out that nature and versus nurture, but interesting the research, like you say, there's a lot already in there, but are we tending to it as parents or even ourselves? Are we tending to it and molding it and building it,
Yeah.
which you have obviously done so. So I'd like to bring up the idea of wellness. It's something I'm very involved with. And I know you speak on wellness. First of all, let's define it. How would you define wellness?
I think that wellness is a broad spectrum. It can be physical wellness, spiritual, social, financial. There are many different ways one
Mhm.
can define and work in the wellness industry. But I think, as a broad concept, wellness means self-care, self-improvement, um, equilibrium, the lack of disease or dis-ease, uh, being a huge component of wellness. So that's how I would define it, the lack of dis-ease and contentment with one's life.
I love that. Yeah. How do you think we're doing as a society in that realm? particularly organizations.
Yeah, well, I think there has been more emphasis in this generation on workplace wellness. There are plenty of large organizations that employ methods for their employees to gain more wellness even while on the job. There is a recognition of burnout being a very real risk, and there are free wellness um, modalities available via one's insurance company or employer nowadays. I think it's gotten a lot more attention, and also the fact that wellness can be multi-pronged,
Mhm.
that it's not just one size and it's not one size fits all. So I think there is greater awareness of the importance of wellness for all of
Mhm.
us. I think that companies meet that standard in different ways and with different results. So I think there's more work to be done. There are so many life coaches nowadays. You can be coached on just about everything right now. And I think that that can be beneficial for many people who feel stuck. There are so many books and podcasts and talks in the wellness arena.
Mhm.
So I think the attention has been expanded, but finding what works for you in particular is still challenging.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like for instance, I know that you are very involved with horses and equine therapy. And in one rehab that I went to, which was for women who had been sexually abused as children, equine therapy was part of the wellness part of the therapy. And I was afraid of horses when I got there because I just hadn't been exposed to them and they're so huge. And I learned through this therapy how um, horses are so attuned to one's feelings and emotions. And I learned to love horses and to care
Mhm.
for a horse, physically take care of a horse, and learned how to ride. And it really helped me because it helped me with emotion regulation of my emotions. Probably the most. That was
Yeah.
probably the
Yeah.
biggest takeaway from equine therapy for me.
Hmm. Absolutely. And who knew they could be part of a wellness program?
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm. Okay, so let's shift a bit here. And you're 50 after 50. I'd love to hear some of I'm sure our readers or listeners would love to hear that too. Some of the different things you did and some of the adventurous, you made some lifestyle changes. What were maybe a few of the things that you did?
Yeah, well, some of the funnier things were entering the dating scene as a 50-year-old, having been with my ex-husband for 25 years. That was very strange. That's a chapter called Dating for Dowagers and talks about my experiences on Match.com and speed dating. And a lot of people lie on those matching services. So I had some very weird things that happened during that, not good things. But luckily, I found a partner through AA actually, and we've been together for more than a decade now. Another funny thing that I did that I'll never do again is I wanted to know what it felt like to sing on a stage. So
Mm.
I went to an open mic night where I didn't know anybody and I belted out a song, and I'm not a good singer. And I left the stage to polite, quiet applause and thought to myself, I'm never going to do that again. But it expanded my comfort zone and helped me with my speaking career because I don't feel nervous when I go before large audiences anymore. So that was
Nice.
really something I'm never going to do again. I also got my motorcycle license and a motorcycle. I even got a motorcycle with a sidecar for my dog. And that was really fun and felt sort of like wind therapy to be riding on country roads. I wouldn't take it on the highway or anything, but it really made me feel young and adventurous.
Mm,
And I did get some judgment over that choice, but I learned how to let that go, that it didn't matter what other people thought of that decision. It was my own, and I felt good about it.
mhm.
Um, that chapter I called Wind Therapy, or what it's like to pretend to be a Hell's Angel. Um, what else did I do? Oh, I did a sort of modeling gig for HuffPost without any makeup to in a piece about aging gracefully, and not I'm someone who won't choose to do any surgery or Botox or anything like that. But I don't judge other people who do. I think it's about feeling good about yourself, whatever it takes to do that. It's
Mm,
just I'm not someone who's going to choose those things.
yeah,
Um, I tried things like flotation therapy, where you're in
yeah.
this chamber without any senses and you're floating in water. And I felt a little claustrophobic to begin with, but ultimately I think I fell asleep while floating, which was really cool. I talk a lot about traveling. I have been to 80 countries so far, and I went to a lot of them in my 50th year and afterwards. I even joined a safari without knowing anybody in the group. But I also talk about learning to walk more. Um, if I can walk somewhere, I will. And in walking around my neighborhood, I've discovered gardens I've never seen before, people I've never met before. I'm a real fan of walking around in Manhattan because it's like hundreds of neighborhoods, each with their own character. And I love walking New York in particular. Um, I became a radio show host in DC, Washington, DC, and that was a really cool adventure. I took a sculpting class, like sculpting clay. I joined a group that had silent disco parties in the middle of big circles in Washington, D.C., where we'd all wear headphones
Yep.
and listen to the same soundtrack and dance wildly while cars raced around us, or have adult recess, that kind of thing.
Nice.
Um, I did indoor skydiving, which is a step for me to outdoor skydiving. You still go 30 feet off the ground,
Yeah.
but I'm working my way to the outdoor skydiving thing. I One last thing I'll tell you about is
Mhm.
I adopted my own brand of minimalism, which for me means for every one thing I bring into my home, I get rid of two things, like donate them, sell them,
Yep.
recycle them, so that my kids aren't saddled with all my belongings when it's my time to leave
Hmm.
this life.
Yeah.
So those
That's
are
that was
some of the
awesome.
things I did. And I did a TEDx talk called Turning Life's Challenges into a Force for Good, which is sort of a summary of the book
Hmm.
of the
That's
things that I
awesome.
did.
Yeah. Wow. Did you have the list when you turned 50? Did you make it all one day or did it grow as you went along?
Yeah, I added to it and subtracted from it based on things I heard or read about, or
Not gonna do this
and
one.
yeah, it was a fluid list, and
Mm,
it also had to do with the time I had available and the funds I had to do
mm,
available, because some of the things were more expensive than others.
mm,
Like the first thing I did, which was I sold many of my belongings, put the rest in storage, and moved to Nepal for 2 months, where I volunteered in a school in the poorest region of Nepal, high in the Himalayas, with no electricity and no running water. That is a very drastic thing to do that probably no other person listening to this would even want to do. But for me, what that became was an exercise in cultivating gratitude. Instead of focusing on all the things I had lost, I was able to be so grateful when I returned for clean water, medical care, having a bed. I didn't have a
mm,
bed when I was in Nepal. I slept like on a table or on a floor. And all these things, the fact that I'm educated and have access to continuing education, so many things that I took for granted before I went away to have that experience.
Yeah, means that much more. Yeah,
Yeah.
interesting. Wow, that's the first one to start on. That's
Yeah.
I like how you frame the comfort zone piece by expanding the comfort zone. Somebody suggested once, I heard that was called growing your edges. So
Yes.
growing the edges of your comfort zone. And I really think in this day and age when there are so many people that don't even have a comfort zone and don't know what safety feels like and that comfort, I love these ways of framing it in a way that says, I can stretch it. I
Yeah.
don't need to cliff dive off of it. Well,
Yes.
except go to Nepal for 2 months. But
Well,
it's this beautiful way of just extending it and like you say, expanding it.
yeah, like haven't been ready to go skydiving outdoors yet, but I'm working my way towards that.
Mhm.
And as a single woman traveling abroad, I am aware that there are more risks for women, solo travelers. And so I'm very careful when I travel. Like I don't go out at night. I do all my touring during the day
Mm.
and typically work at night or read or something like that. And I'm very aware of especially I'm kind of hyper vigilant because rape is part of my story when I was a teenager. So I am aware and I will stretch my comfort zone to go to a country where most Americans don't go. Like last year I went to Sri Lanka and I don't know any friends who have gone there, but it's gorgeous and it's beautiful and it's inexpensive and it's like India, but without so much poverty and gorgeous coastlines. So I have learned how to adapt and to stretch my comfort zone with every trip and experience, but to respect myself and my safety and my well-being.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. There's there's a lot in that. There's a lot in that practice of being able to do that.
Yes.
Appreciate that. Um, I'm gonna ask you one more question and then I'm gonna give the floor back to you to what you got going on and things like
Okay.
that. But if you going they talked about your book of 50 after 50 things after 50, and you talked about 60 after 60. Um, what would be your words of wisdom for somebody that as they go through this journey of life in the second half?
Yeah. I would start with, because this is how I started when I was really depressed, is to make a list of things that bring you happiness or joy. And when I was severely depressed, that list was very short. And I presented it to my therapist at the time. It was my children. And she's like, no, 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 no. What brings you even a glimmer of joy? And I was like, I don't know, like chocolate ice cream? She's like, yes, write that down. So I had to start small with little things and then grew to bigger things like watching the sunset or exploring a new city or something like that, meeting new people who are positive. And so make a list of things that bring you joy. Then make a list of things that you want to experience in this lifetime. And then maybe categorize those things of things that you can do now or soon and things that you maybe can plan for in the future. I think the point is that your life is happening right now, and it's up to you what you do with it. We each get a lifetime of uncertain duration. We can decide to live it within the comfort of our homes or to branch out. It's up to you. Neither choice is wrong,
Mhm.
but I would just implore people to think about what do you want to have experienced in this lifetime? Maybe it is deep relationships with other people and that you can do that from wherever you are. Like you can stay home and do that. Maybe it's you have an adventure streak and you want to see as much of the world as you can, which is how I am, but respect it and start doing it because you never know. All of us at this point in our life have lost people unexpectedly.
Hmm.
So that could be us, but for the grace of higher power go I.
Yeah.
And I'm not taking things for granted. And don't settle for the gray safety that sameness promises.
Yeah.
You, if you're listening to this podcast, have the ability to do something, to listen to another podcast, to get some more ideas,
Yeah.
to listen to more of Linda's episodes, to get
Hmm.
great ideas about how you might improve or elevate your life. The point is, don't give up.
Yeah.
We could live to 100. You never know. I mean, longevity is increasing with healthcare and scientific discoveries. But you have the power to make your life better.
Yeah.
You can choose
Exactly.
not to, but that's not what I would recommend.
There you go. There you go. My father lived till 94 and he was always learning and always buying books and always giving people books.
Mm.
And I tell the story when he passed, we were cleaning out his room. A woman came up to stopped us in the hall and said, "Your father was a gracious man."
Oh,
And she told stories of how he was gracious. But my heart changed at that moment to have somebody to live a life and it be known as gracious
yes, that's
was
beautiful.
was just like there's a legacy. And if that would be on my list is like how every day can I be a gracious person?
Yes, you
When
can.
Yeah, and some days you're not feeling it. Okay, how can I turn this around and be gracious and live with grace? So
Yes.
let's take a few moments and I will give the floor back to you. What have you got going on? What's coming up? Whatever you'd wish to share with us, because I know
Yeah,
your list is long and busy and
thanks.
full.
Thanks. I guess the starting point is go to marialeonardolsen.com, and there you will find links to my two TEDx talks, one of which was an editor's pick, which only 1% of TEDx talks get chosen with that designation. But any likes, views, shares will help me get the word out about what I believe to be important points for many people and helpful for many people. Also, the greatest gift you can give to an author is to do a review of their book. So I have 7 books out now. 50 After 50, Reframing the Next Chapter of Your Life is my most popular book and has helped thousands of people. People approach me in tears at book talks about that book, about how it's changed their lives. Even a one-word review, like good, helps me in the visibility algorithm. My next book, which will be published in February 2027, is called Before and After the DNA Test. And it has practical advice on what you should consider and what you should do before and after you take a test. And also the legal ramifications of taking a test for insurance, inheritance, privacy, law enforcement. Those are the major categories that I discuss in that book. And I did a TEDx talk on DNA tests too, called Should I Use a DNA Test? And that I think can help a lot of people as well. Also explored in the book is identity. And all of us have had our identity shaken somewhat during the course of our lives. So that might be something interesting to your listeners. So, if you need someone to speak at your organization or your book club or your nonprofit, I love public speaking. I have a wide array of things I speak on, mostly in the self-care and wellness field, but also in the legal field. Or if one of my books sounds interesting for your book club, I can join you in person if you're anywhere near Washington, D.C., or online. I love to do book clubs and talk to readers. So I want to say thank you to you, Linda, for giving me the opportunity to talk about some of the things that I'm doing. And I always hope that I have helped even one person improve their life in some way with what I say, do, or write. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Maria. You are an inspiration. I would finish the question, who inspires you?
A lot of people inspire me, but someone who inspires me that all of you likely know is Oprah. Oprah came from very from poverty and from a very traumatic background and believed in herself and believes in others and believes in giving back to the world and supports so many people with her wealth and her influence. And I really admire someone who can choose to do anything she wants in the world and chooses to make this world a better place.
Yeah, I hear you. That's perfect. Well, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for connecting and uh, finding, being able to find each other, and for all that you do in this world, and for
Thank you,
the
Linda.
difference you make. So, thank you for being here, and keep inspiring. Keep inspiring. That's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, our listeners, for being here and listening to this episode. At Inspire Me Forward, our belief is that we inspire others when we share our stories, and in turn, we share our collective connection. We let each other know that they're not alone in this big, beautiful world. There's a quote that goes, "The courage it takes to share one story might be the very thing someone else needs to open their heart to a brighter tomorrow." So we ask you if you would share it forward. You just never know who else needs to hear the words and wisdom shared in this episode here today. So stay well, stay connected, and stay inspired.